We are at the end of April. This is probably going to be a pretty short vlog. I know my last one was pretty long. I didn't mean to make it that long, but I just wanted to pop on and catch you up on a few things that I've been reading. So I just started the audiobook for Black Cake by Charmaine Wilkerson. And this book is pretty good so far. I know I mentioned in my previous book that I had started it, and I really, really, really like the audio narrator. She has such a good voice. It's so strong, and she does accents really well, and she portrays these characters really differently and uniquely. So I think that the audiobook so far is really nice. I'm really enjoying it. So we're following these two siblings named Benny and Byron, who they haven't spoken to each other in many, many years. I think almost 8 years. They've kind of been estranged from each other. But unfortunately, their mother passes away, and she had made a recording with their family lawyer that she requested they listen to after she passed away. She had been sick, so she knew that she had some time to tie up a few things before she passed. So unfortunately, the daughter, Benny, didn't get to see her mother before she died, so she's having so much guilt and regret and really struggling with that. And Benny is struggling with his own anger towards his sister, who just disappeared from their life. They used to be really close, but after one incident on one of the holidays and a misunderstanding, and she never came back and they never heard from her. So that's the first kind of timeline that we get. So the mom, her name is Eleanor, again, she recorded this long history of something she wanted to tell them about, something about her past, her story that she kept a secret from them all of these years. She also mentions in the recording really early on that they have a sister that neither of them knew about. So her last request was for them to listen to this recording she made so she could explain things about her life. And then also she had made a traditional Caribbean black cake that she put in the freezer, and she wanted them to share the cake together and with their new sibling if they could reach her. So right away, Benny and Byron are completely floored. They had no idea what was going on, and they start listening to this recording. So then we get flashed back to the 1960s, which is our second timeline. And we're following this young girl named Covey, who is growing up on kind of an undisclosed Caribbean island. If I had to guess, it kind of sounds like she's in Jamaica. The accent that the audio narrator does sound Jamaican to me, but I'm not completely sure. So we're following Covey, and she's a really good swimmer. She's having a good time in her little life on this island. But unfortunately, we find out that her mother just one day left them. So her mother, who is a native Caribbean woman, one day said goodbye and never returned. So she's being raised by her immigrant Caribbean Chinese father, who unfortunately is into gambling and drinking. And he makes a decision and some mistakes that directly affect Covey, and it ties her into a promise that he kept that she really doesn't want to make. So I don't want to say what that is, but Covey eventually finds her way off the island, and so that's kind of where we're at. And we're still trying to figure out who Covey actually is. Is this Eleanor? Why is the name different? What's going on? What's the story? There's also a love interest between Covey and this man named Gilbert, and this was at a time when a lot of Caribbean people were immigrating to the UK back in the 60s. So it's talking a lot about different themes. Of course, we have the idea of race and identity, with Covey being part Caribbean, part Chinese. We also have this diaspora, where large amounts of people move from their homeland to a different country together. So the large amount of people from the Caribbean islands immigrating up to the UK to work and find jobs, and kind of how they were stereotyped into specific jobs. And also on the other timeline, just dealing with grief and family dynamics and forgiveness and anger and regret and all of that stuff. So the book so far is really good. I'm finding the pacing to be great. The story is really intriguing. I am a bit more invested into Covey's story, so I really like the past timeline that's taking place in the Caribbean islands. I love the references to culture and food, and this idea of this traditional black cake. It just sounds so interesting. I've never heard of this dessert before, but it makes me want to try it. So really, really liking Black Cake so far. So the book that I just finished recently is the 7th and final book in the Chronicles of Narnia series called The Last Battle by C.S. Lewis. So I still have one book left, The Magician's Nephew. I should have probably read it before I read this one, but I don't know. I ended up reading The Last Battle first. So The Last Battle was really weird. It was a very interesting book. I didn't hate it, but it definitely is one of the bottom ranked books in this series so far for me. I think The Horse and His Boy is probably my least favorite so far, but then it would be The Last Battle, I think. So The Last Battle follows the final days of Narnia, and we're following this King Tyrion, who apparently is like the last king of Narnia. And the book is a very dark tone. It's very grim. There's a lot of bad stuff going on. And we're following King Tyrion. And right in the beginning, we are actually first following these two animals. We have this monkey or this ape named Shift, and we have a donkey named Puzzle. And the ape is just such a jerk. He's totally manipulating and gaslighting this Puzzle character. And they find this lion skin that washed up in the river. So they get this, the ape, gets this idea to take the skin, put it on the donkey, and pretend that they're Aslan to get people to do what they want. So that whole plot premise is so out there. Like, I don't know. So we're following that. And then King Tyrion kind of gets word of what's going on, that Aslan has returned and he's making all the people do all these crazy things, and the people of the Calormenes are now involved, and they've kind of taken over this plot, and they're just trying to take over Narnia, and it's just like a total mess. So King Tyrion gets kidnapped, or gets caught when he tries to speak out against them and say, listen, there's no way this is the real Aslan. He wouldn't be making you harm other people. He wouldn't be enslaving the animals and this and that. So he does get captured and tied to a tree, and he prays and wishes to Aslan to send help. So we get the return of two of our human characters. We get Eustace and Jill. So they are both main characters from The Silver Chair. Eustace we met during the Voyage of the Dawn Treader, which is one of my favorite books of the series. So they return and they try to figure out a way to stop this from going on and to stop the destruction of Narnia. So through different plots and different ways, we do kind of come to a general conclusion. It's not what I thought it was going to be. The book had a lot of religious undertones, which I know that is kind of a theme throughout the Chronicles of Narnia anyway, but this one had pretty high religious undertones in terms of the afterlife. I did really like the descriptions of everything. I think that he always does a great job with that. I love that meta element where he's like sort of this overseer of the whole story. Like he's there but invisible and telling the story. I always like that part of it. But man, they did one of the characters so dirty. Queen, I cannot believe the author made the choices that he made in terms of how her story ended or didn't end or was absent. It was just so weird. I don't know. It was really sad. I don't know. I have one more book to go. So I guess overall I would give that book a 3, a generous 3. It wasn't horrible. I didn't mind reading it. It just was not what I thought it was going to be. Yeah, I mean, we have our usual sexism that we usually get within the books, you know, the stupid females doing this or that, of course, to be expected. But like Eustace and Jill, they didn't really have much going on in the book. I don't know. It was a strange book. I'm just going to say that. It was strange. It wasn't horrible, but it definitely was not one of the best ones in the series. So I am going to be starting The Magician's Nephew, and that'll be the final book in the series. So that is my little reading catch-up. Oh, I'm still dragging my way through Light of the Jedi. It's getting a little bit better, but, you know, it's just taking its sweet time. So I also am almost getting through the Passport to Frankfurt. That is going... I'm only in like the very first part of it, and it's not bad so far. So I know that things are going to be changing up soon. So we'll see how that goes. So yeah, thank you guys. I will check in soon. Again, this is probably going to be a pretty short vlog. I'm going to try to get through Black Cake quickly, and yeah, because I always like to start fresh, like in the beginning of the month. So I will check in soon. Okay, it's Saturday today, and I think I'm gonna head to our little thrift store because I have a bunch of boxes to donate, and I'm gonna check out their little book section. It's really cute and tiny, but I have found some nice books there before, so I'm gonna check that out, and I'll let you guys know if I find anything good. Okay, I did find a few good books that I picked up. It was, I think, 6 for $1. So I did find actually these 2 books on the top, just including these I found at the flea market last week. So I found this old copy of The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien, part of the Lord of the Rings series. This is just a really nice old, probably mass market paperback copy. I have a beautiful edition of this in a set that I got for my birthday a few years ago, but the print was really small. So I wanted to get a copy that had a little bit larger print just because it's a little easier to read. So excited. I really want to read the Lord of the Rings trilogy, or plus The Hobbit, soon. That's been on my list for so long. I also found this book of Emily Dickinson's Selected Poems, Dover Thrift Edition, from the flea market as well. This book I got for free, actually. The woman just gave me it for free. She was like, she didn't have change. So she was just like, just take it. It's good to read. So that was really nice of her. So this is just a really short little book of poetry. I am trying to try to read more poetry as an adult. I didn't like it at all when I was younger, but yeah, just gonna try it out and see if I like it now that I'm older. And then at the thrift store, I did pick up these books. So we've got one of the children's classics, A Wrinkle in Time by Madeleine L'Engle. And yeah, I love children's classics or middle grade classics. So definitely interested in checking out this as just like a little nighttime read. This book I know nothing about, but it looked cute and I just needed to get, a bunch for the $1. So this is called A Week in Winter by Maeve Binchy. This was a bestseller, I guess. And it looks like it follows this small town on the west coast of Ireland, which is a nice setting to read about, I'm sure. And this woman, I guess she like fixes up this old house into some kind of bed and breakfast type of thing. So just a general fiction book. So excited to see what that reads like. Then we have a classic. This is a compilation of George Orwell's Animal Farm in 1984, both of which is on my list that I wanted to read. I love reading classics and reading them as an adult. So I got these 2. And we have The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. I know this was pretty popular a few years ago, so I don't really know anything about it, but it was just such a nice hardback copy for like 10 cents. So I picked that up to see, hopefully maybe I'll like that one. And then there was, this is the last one, but there was a 6th book, but it was a double of one of the J.D. Robb In Death series books that I had, so I'm just going to return it. But the last book that I got was this book called The Nest by Cynthia DePrix Sweeney. I did not say that right, but this was another New York Times bestseller. Again, really nice hardback copy. So whoever goes to this thrift store in my little town, there are some people that donate some really nice books. So yeah, excited to add these onto my list. I don't need any more books, but I just can't resist a used bookstore, 6 for $1. I mean, it's such a treat. So I don't know when I'll get to these, but I really was happy with these finds. Hey everyone, I just wanted to check in within the vlog real quickly and mention that I did just finish Black Cake by Charmaine Wilkerson. And this book was really good. I really enjoyed it. There were some points that I liked better than others, but ultimately I think I had a good reading experience with this. I listened to it on audio. The audio was phenomenal. This audio narrator was so talented. She did a great job. But I liked how the book focused on tradition. It had so many themes within it. We talked about sort of that diaspora of this culture where large amounts of people are displaced from their original homeland and they end up in a different location. So like, for example, the immigration of a lot of Caribbean men and women who immigrated to England, to start and work in different jobs. They were kind of told what jobs to take, what would fit. But ultimately, this was such a beautiful story about one woman's survival through circumstances that were so beyond her control based on the way things were for women in a particular culture at a time where they didn't have as much agency or ability to make their own decisions. And ultimately, the mistakes of a parent that can lead to devastation for a child and how that will affect their lives going forward. So the writing was it was so good. It was so good. I can't believe this was a debut novel. She did such a great job. I did feel at times, especially in the second half of the book, though, it felt a little bit all over the place for me. The story kind of lost its pacing a bit, and I felt the story itself kind of slowed down. But the ending was beautiful. I just, the love of a parent to do all that they can to protect their children by holding back these secrets of their past but wanting that desire to make sure her kids knew exactly who she was, and that sense of identity and of wanting to be left, not leaving a legacy behind, but leaving information about who you truly are and what happened to you and how you became the person that you've been, and how the love of your children had really just saved your heart and soul. And yeah, so Black Cake, Charmaine Wilkerson, really good. I really enjoyed it. And I think this might be the end of the vlog. Since I finished a book, I'll probably end the vlog here. I do have a couple books that I am starting. I started reading a little bit of The Maid by Nita Prose. I just got the audiobook for tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, which I'm going to start. I've been really excited for that. I'm still reading my way a bit through The Light of the Jedi, which is my Star Wars book that I'm reading as a buddy read with my brother. I got a lot going on my plate. It's a little overwhelming, but hopefully I will get through some of these books soon. And I will see you guys in my next vlog. So thank you guys so much for watching.